Welcome to the Old Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How are you doing today, Danny?
Red rum. Red rum.
Red rum. Red rum. Red rum. Red rum. Red rum. when he goes berserk.
So Jack Nicholson, I guess we'll just get into it. He is was a school teacher up in Vermont, and he's looking to get away, change of pace, whatever. And so he goes to apply and interview for this job as the caretaker at this huge inn in Colorado called the Overlook Hotel. And so he gets the job, and then Shelley Duvall, his wife, and his kid. I got to say, hearing Jack Nicholson scream Danny Boy creeped me out.
Yeah.
It's just, thinking of my own name. And, it's funny. I've said this to Mom before, and I'm sure I've said it to you, but there's a period in time where Dad looks a lot like Jack Nicholson of that era. So he gets the job. They move out there, and when he's interviewing, the guy that I guess runs or owns the Overlook Hotel tells him a story. He says, "Hey, I need to tell you this up front. Have you heard about the incident that happened here back in like 1970 and he says, no. So he goes on to tell him about the previous caretaker who, because of, they assume, the isolation out there, it's months and months you're out there when this place is closed and they're shut down for the season. And he basically went out of his mind, chopped up his wife and kids, his two daughters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And stacked them up in one of the rooms in the hotel.
How about Nicholson's response to that story? Wouldn't you be kind of horrified? Really? Oh my! He's just like, well,
yeah,
quite a story.
Exactly. I can see why the boys in Denver didn't tell me before I came out here.
Yeah, and the wife's gonna love that one when I tell her, because she loves ghost stories. That is not a normal reaction.
No, it's not. It's not.
To hearing a guy chop up his family and stack them in a pile. Stephen King hated the movie.
Mm-hmm.
For years, dogged it. Probably cost it millions because, it got nominated for 2 Razzie Awards. One, Shelley Duvall. You just talked about her performance. She was nominated for a Razzie.
That's amazing.
And Jack Nicholson calls it the best performance of a female actor he's ever seen. And Stanley Kubrick, nominated for a Razzie for The Shining. Shows you the people that run that,
Yeah, a bunch of Stephen King lovers, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He did him no favors because he dogged it every chance he got. And there's believe me, when you read the book, you're gonna see why. This isn't The Shining from the book. It's really different. For people who are big Shining people, are probably like, what is the deal with the bear on his knees?
Well,
you've got to be like, what is that?
Is that the bear that he's laying on? Does it look like that?
Well,
it's like a pig bear. It's more like a pig or something.
It looks like a pig. I always thought it was a pig.
We're talking about a scene much later in the film where there's a pig bear or something apparently giving oral to a guy in a room that's
with his ass sticking out.
That's right. So bizarre.
It's the most bizarre scene.
So bizarre.
If you go online and just write "what's with the bear in The Shining," you get like 100 things come up. But we'll get to that because it's later on. But I want you to realize that there's all these bears throughout the movie. There's pictures when they first go, they're on the tour.
What's with the bears? Stop dicking around. Tell me what the bears are.
We'll get to it.
I was riveted by Shelley Duvall from start to finish. She captivated me in this film. I just thought she was
I liked, honestly, every performance in it. To me,
Daniel Lloyd.
Yeah.
What was he, 7 maybe?
Yeah, and can you imagine, having Stanley Kubrick cast.
And he's even busting the kids' balls
Yeah,
in the,
yeah.
in,
Although,
the snow scene.
yeah, he was very protective of the kid, though.
He's like, "Oh, don't look at your hand. No, turn around. Look."
Right.
I'm like, Jesus, he's 7.
But at the end of the day, he would always, put his arm around. And
Yeah.
they had a relationship for years. How many doors did Jack Nicholson break?
Well, that final scene, that's funny because now I'm thinking of Homer when he breaks through.
Yeah, right.
You know,
You're gonna have to.
here's
You're gonna have to.
Johnny.
You're gonna have to do that side by side.
Yeah, there's nobody there. He's like, "No."
Yeah, right.
And then
David Letterman.
right. And hey, it's Grandpa. Don't.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then the last one is, "I'm Mike Wallace." It's
yeah. Hi, David.
Yeah.
Grandpa.
So good.
Anyways, the whole thing with Danny's a molested kid. Jack has been molesting him for years.
See, I didn't take that away.
Well, let's go back and think about it.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Go back to
Obviously he was well, you know what? Now that you say that, not that this is unusual, but I look at the scene differently now. There's a scene where Danny he asks his mom, "Can I go up to my room and get my
fire engine?"
And she says, "No, your father's trying to sleep, blah, blah, blah." Anyways, I'll tiptoe. So he goes up there, and then there's this encounter between he and his father. But then he ends up sitting on his lap, and it just gets a little.
It's a little creepy.
It's a little, but Jack's descending into this madness. So I think I got too focused on that, and but there's like a rubbing of the arm. It's a little weird.
I'd never do anything
Now
to
I
you, Danny, right?
Yes.
This is like he's been molesting him when he's talking to the doctor. Where's Tony? Tony's in my mouth.
Right.
And then all of a sudden she starts to dig a little bit. I don't want to talk about Tony anymore.
That's right. He says that.
Because
yes.
I'm sure he's been threatened.
Right.
You don't tell anybody about this kid.
Wow.
Right? And then there's all the bear image. In the book, it's a dog.
We're calling it a bear. I think it's more of a pig.
Well, it is a bear.
Okay.
It's like a boar.
Well, that'll do it for another episode. I've been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody. That was the worst Tony ever.
Like Mike would say in the new blog we just released, keep smashing that thumbs up. Mike connecting with Gen Z.